Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our college visit series. We are very excited to have with us today Davidson College, and Meredith High, an admissions counselor there, is going to be sharing lots of wonderful information with us today about their campus and programs and everything they have to offer. Thank you for joining us today, Meredith.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and let you get started.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you to all of you who are watching this. I'm really grateful for any students who can jump on one more Zoom call. I know that's no small feat given the fall that we've all had. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Again, my name is Meredith High. I'm an Associate Dean of Admission at Davidson College, which is in Davidson, North Carolina, just 20 miles north of Charlotte. I do cover the entire state of Virginia for our office. So if we should be lucky enough that Davidson stays on your final list of schools to which you're going to apply, I'll be the first person to read your application. And that also means that I'm your point person as you go through this process. So if you're interested in what you've heard after watching this today and you want to stay in touch, I'm going to be sure that Ms. Corbin has my contact information to share with you all, and I would be glad to hear from you anytime. Today's overview is just going to be about 20-25 minutes. So super quick. I definitely can't tell you everything there is to know about Davidson in that time. So we're going to try to just kind of hit the highlight reel a little bit. And then as you have follow-up questions, I would be glad to hear from any of you. But as I mentioned, Davidson College is in the town of Davidson, 20 miles north of Charlotte. So it's a suburban area. It's a town of about 12,000 people. It's definitely a lot of faculty and staff and dogs who live in town. So you'll absolutely be very welcomed into this college town that's pretty idyllic, very walkable. Main street with tons of local businesses, residential campus, a lot of green space and trees, and beautiful brick buildings. So kind of that classic college experience. But we are 20 miles north of the city of Charlotte, which is the largest city in North Carolina, really, really quickly growing area. Charlotte is primarily known for being kind of like a banking, finance, economic center and hub, and that absolutely is true. But there's also a lot of growth in Charlotte around just city development. There's a lot going on with arts. There's a lot with kind of startup companies. There's a lot of energy in Charlotte that students have some pretty cool opportunities to plug into through internship opportunities, job shadowing, as well as community-based learning courses, right? So one example that comes to mind is because Charlotte is an area that has grown so quickly, some of our sociology professors have developed community-based learning courses where students can plug into local neighborhoods and work with people who have lived there for years and years and learn things about gentrification and how neighborhoods are changing, right? So Charlotte serves as not only a really great professional hub for our students, but it's also this really powerful sort of laboratory that our students can plug into for academic opportunities. The academic experience at Davidson is super rooted in relationships, right? So we are a small liberal arts college of 2,000 students. So 2,000 students only and all undergraduates. So there are no graduate students on our campus who are teaching classes or leading lab sections or leading reviews. Everything happens in this model of full professor, right? So your faculty member, your professor, to undergraduate student. So what you're going to find are small discussion-based classes. And the average class size at Davidson is 16, but they are capped at 35 or 40. So you're never going to be in a large lecture hall. You're going to be in these discussion-based classes where you are working with your peers and your professor to really kind of break things down and have meaningful conversations. You don't have to declare a major at Davidson until the end of your sophomore year. So you have 2 full years to figure that out. It's a really good thing. We think you should come here and try some things on, figure some things out. A lot of students find some cool intersection between disciplines that they didn't think were related at all. You're going to have no shortage of professors and staff members all across campus to serve as sounding boards and just help you think about what you're interested in. To graduate from Davidson, you're going to take 32 courses. Roughly a third of those are going to be taken up by your general education requirements, right? So you're going to take a course that looks at, kind of the English realm, a science course, a history course. There's about 11 of those in total. You're going to take about another third of your courses are going to go towards your major. And then you're going to have your last third to kind of do with whatever you want. So that means you can just take courses that are interesting to you. It means you can pursue a double major. It means you can pursue a minor. Students do all kinds of different things, but Davidson as a liberal arts college is a place that's really rooted in the idea that exploration and connection is incredibly important, right? So think about the value of someone who has a liberal arts foundation and they end up going to public health or medicine, but they've also taken some coursework and they've thought about social issues or philosophical issues. And so they kind of bring that ethical lens to the work that they do. And that's the educational approach that Davidson takes, that you need to think about problems from a lot of different angles, because after college, when you're in the working world and you're contributing to the world, you're going to be working towards really complex problems that don't have easy solutions. So you need to be able to flip things on their head and look at them from different perspectives and think about the ways that people from different backgrounds think about things when they might be different from how you think about them. So that's kind of the root and the core of a liberal arts education. It's that exploration and that comparison in multiple lenses, even though you will still specialize in whatever area you choose to major in. Our most popular majors are biology, political science, and economics, followed pretty closely by psychology, English, and history. There's also some pretty popular programs that are a little more specialized. So students who study neuroscience, genomics, computer science. There's also a really cool program that is, it's not a major, it's not an academic program, but there's a space on campus called the Hub for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. So as I was mentioning earlier, that there's kind of a lot of startup energy in Charlotte. This is a space on campus that allows students to kind of plug into that. It's a space that offers courses on things like how to start a startup and how to market an idea and how venture funding works. It allows students to work with mentors who will help them develop their ideas. And they also run a semester program out to Silicon Valley. So if you're really interested in coding and startups and entrepreneurship, you can take a full semester to really dig into that out in California, which is a great experience for you. And I think that underscores that even though Davidson is a place that runs this like really traditional model of education, we of course want to take that beyond the classroom. So you're going to find internships like the Davidson and Silicon Valley program. We run a summer program to Washington, D.C. called Davidson in Washington, which is great for students interested in like policy, politics, government, anything like that. There's special funding for students who want to do internships in East Asia. So we've had students intern in China and Singapore and South Korea and all over the world, as well as students who intern in Charlotte, as well as New York City, Washington, D.C., Dallas, California, all over the world. So the Center for Career Development is going to be your home base for finding internship opportunities, but we have an online database called Handshake where you can sort through all those, work with a career advisor. One thing that's kind of cool about Davidson, our career advisors are specialized by field. So if you know that you're interested in marketing, you're going to work with a career advisor who's kind of specialized in that realm and kind of knows how internship opportunities work in that area. So that's going to serve you really well. The Davidson Alumni Network also comes into play. They are crazy in all the best ways. The Davidson alumni are super loyal and super connected, and they do a great job at just helping open doors for current Davidson students. So know that internship opportunities abound. We see about 85% of our students have at least one internship, and many of them have more. So those opportunities are really widespread for you. We also, of course, want our students to get beyond just the town of Davidson at some point. So as much as we love the town of Davidson, it's a great college town, study abroad and international opportunities are really big. So we see about 75–80% of our students leave the country at some point. So a lot of that is students studying abroad for credit, whether that's with a Davidson professor or with another program that's approved. We see students go to Ghana and Zambia, India and England and France and Copenhagen and China and Peru and Argentina. They're all over the world. So no shortage of programs. There's about 150 that you can choose from. Any major can go. You can go as soon as the summer after your freshman year. So we really want you to go abroad. There are also some really cool opportunities to travel with grant funding. So like if you have a project or research that you want to do in another country, you can write a proposal and Davidson will fund that. So like we had a student a few years ago who wanted to travel to Italy to study orchid conservation. And so he wrote this proposal and Davidson was like, great, go do that. Here's some money. We also have a program called Meet My World that allows you to go home with a friend who's an international student, which is a really cool way to see the world, and Davidson will fund that trip, which is great. When you are on campus though, I mentioned the town of Davidson being kind of like the quintessential college town. The campus itself is very residential. Our students live on campus all 4 years, 95% of them are on campus. We actually use a Myers-Briggs personality type indicator to match freshman roommates, as well as to build out your whole freshman hall. So kind of an unusual thing, but it works really well. And so students get like really close with their other hallmates on the freshman hall. And so you think about what that means when you come to a totally new place, and it really helps you get plugged into community and make friends super quickly. There are 200 student organizations on campus, so we won't even be able to scratch the surface of them today. But there is a group called Davidson Outdoors that's really popular. Our students love club and intramural sports, including one called Flickerball, which is a made-up Davidson sport. A lot of civic engagement among our student body. They're really connected to the surrounding town through service opportunities. There are fraternities and eating houses on campus. So eating houses are Davidson specific organizations for women and gender minority students that have an open social atmosphere. So when they throw social events, anyone on campus can go, totally open. But one thing that's really important about the campus culture is that it is largely run by our honor code. So Davidson has an incredibly important honor code on campus that really governs the way that students interact with each other. So the honor code essentially says, I will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do, right? So like really straightforward, it sounds like any other honor code. The way that it's carried out looks really different. So there's this underlying assumption of trust. It means that your professors trust you. So it's normal for our students to have take-home tests. Our final exams are self-scheduled. At the end of the semester, you have a week to take your final, and you'll do that without anyone watching you. It also means that there's trust among peers. So students at Davidson tend to be just like really collaborative. They're not competitive. They're not cutthroat. And that's a really rare combination where we have high expectations of ourselves and of each other, but we can do that without being cutthroat. So that's really important to understand about kind of Davidson culture. So a really, really tight-knit community where you're connected to your peers, you're connected to your professors. There are so many opportunities to engage on campus through all of these student organizations that we have, in addition to the Division I athletics that we offer, which is unusual for a place as small as we are. But that's something our students really love. And I think it's important to understand that our athletes are Davidson students first and foremost. So for those of you watching, if you're maybe thinking about playing your sport at a Division I level, or if you're not sure how you feel about being at a Division I school, know that our athletes come to Davidson because they want that tight-knit community, honor-bound experience with challenging and engaging academics, and they also want to continue to pursue their sport at the highest possible level. But our athletes are absolutely integrated into the rest of our student body, and so part of the school spirit, I think, for the athletics comes from the fact that you're seeing these people who you actually know as part of your community represent you nationally, and that's really cool. So we love being a Division I school, and it certainly does create some fun opportunities to engage. So with that, Ms. Corbin, I think it might be helpful for me to pivot and maybe talk about some quick admission and financial aid things that students might want to know. I'm going to grab a quick sip of water. Okay. So very quickly in the few minutes we have left, Davidson is a place that practices holistic admission reading. So we are going to read everything front to back, your GPA, your test scores, if you send them, because we're test optional. They're not going to determine whether your application goes to committee, how many people read it. Every application is read front to back. Every application goes to some form of committee. Of course, we're going to start by considering your transcript, right? We want to see you challenge yourself with your courses, given what was at your fingertips. So everything is kept in context of what your high school offers. Of course, we're going to have context about COVID and limited opportunities. We are not expecting you to have captained the track team last spring when there was no track. Everything is kept in context. So we want to know, where were you willing to reach for opportunity and take on challenge and push yourself a little bit? Where have you made impact in your community, your school? How have you engaged with your peers? How have you galvanized with them? who are you in your community, right? And so we get that by, looking at your transcript, but then really looking closely at your essays, your recommendations, your activities, your engagements, the things that you choose to tell us about yourself, and the things that your wonderful counselors and teachers tell us about you, right? Like they are sort of the fly on the wall sometimes, right? Who pick up the ways that you engage with your peers, like the comments that you say to like lift up your peer who's struggling, right? Or maybe you are kind of the glue in your class. Like you're the person who kind of like keeps everyone together when discussions are getting tough, right? Like that's the kind of thing that your teacher might talk about. That's really helpful for us to think about as we're crafting a class and a community. So we care about your academics, but we also care about, how you write and how you pull meaning from the experiences you've had and how you engage with other people. I mentioned we are test optional. I will say standardized testing was always the least weighted piece of it for us. So this shift to test optional is not really crazy monumental for us. We are glad to be able to offer that. We're running a 3-year test optional pilot, so we will be test optional for at least the next 3 years. In terms of financial aid, one thing that's important to know, Davidson runs a pretty distinctive program. We're one of about 18 schools in the country that offers a financial aid program with 3 promises. So one is that we are need blind in our admission review for all US citizens and permanent residents. So that means we make admission decisions without any information about how much financial aid you may need. The second promise is that we meet 100% of the calculated financial need that we see for your financial aid application. And the third promise is that we do that without using student loans. So our financial aid awards are made up of grants, maybe a job on campus, but not a student loan as long as you apply for financial aid on time. So know that Davidson is a place that is really committed to being accessible. We're really committed to there being socioeconomic diversity on campus. Students being in this community from a wide range of backgrounds. And we hope that you will keep that in mind as you're looking at us. There is a net price calculator on our website that I would definitely encourage everybody to use if you're thinking about us. It takes about 12 minutes to do. If you put in accurate information, it will give you a really accurate sense of what out-of-pocket costs would be to attend Davidson. We do also have some scholarship opportunities. They're more limited. It's about 4 or 5% of an incoming class. Most of those opportunities you're going to be automatically considered for through your application for admission. There are a few that require supplemental materials. So if you remain interested in Davidson, you can email me to ask more about those, or you can take a look at our website and there's an entire section called application scholarships. And those are the ones that require a separate application. So that's where you're going to want to look for those. But with that, I will go ahead and wrap up for today, just knowing that it's tough to just sit and watch a video when you're not actually interacting with someone. So I will share my contact information again. My name is Meredith High. My email is me and then my last name, High, H-I-G-H @davidson.edu. And I will share that with Ms. Corbin and Ms. Edwards. So if you have any questions, I will be glad to hear from you at any time. And thanks so much for watching.
Thank you so much. That information has been very helpful. And thank you for talking about the context of COVID with activities and everything. I know a lot of our students worry about that, not being able to be involved with things in the spring or this year. A lot of activities have been cut. So that's nice to hear from a college.
Yeah, and I hope everyone will just keep in mind, like, we also, we're kind of struggling through the pandemic and still are. And so we have not only empathy, but sympathy for you, right? Because we're living it too. So we definitely appreciate that.
Thank you. And also, so for students who are applying and want to be considered for scholarships, is there any certain deadline they're looking at for that?
So the only earlier deadline, if you are nominated for the Belk Scholarship, which is our school's like flagship, it's full cost of attendance, then Belk nominees, and you can be nominated by a counselor, have to have their application to us by December 15th this year. And that doesn't bind students to early decision if that's not what they're thinking. We are a school that offers early decision and regular decision. That doesn't bind them to that, but we just need that extra time to work through the Belk nominees. Otherwise, it's just whatever deadline matches with the application plan that you've selected.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today. And yes, I will be sharing your contact information with students as we share this video. So students that are watching, make sure you reach out to Meredith if you have any questions, and she would be happy to assist you with that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.